So let's start. I would request everybody to please switch off their mics. In any case, I muted all of you, so don't switch it on now. So the virtual teacher workshop 2. Now let's recap the first workshop that we did. We basically talked about the different models. We talked about the convention model. That's what we've been doing, throughout our lives. The second, we talked about the online teaching model. And third, we talked about the blended teaching model. And in universities and in schools, that is the model, that is followed. So I gave you the example for online teaching. I told you Coursera, I talked about edX, and these are the models which are basically online models. So they are, so the difference between an online or a blended learning model is that an online model is generally a synchronous model. So there is no real-time interaction happening between the teacher and the students. Whereas in a blended learning model, it's a synchronous model and there are touch points which have been created. And so teachers and students do come together and there is interaction happening. And within the blended learning model, we talked about the flipped model. So flipped model, as I said, is when the homework becomes the classwork and the classwork becomes the homework. So that's the flipped model, basically. Flipped in itself has around 12 models, and I don't know if you've people looked at Khan Academy and all. So the Khan Academy actually works on the flipped model only, and within the flipped model, it follows the mastery model. So this is what Khan Academy is basically. And most of the courses that you will find, even Byju's and all, that is the model they follow. Very important now that we talk about research and curate skills. And this is what this complete workshop is all about. Now, this is not a skill which is only required by teachers. Actually, even your students need to be very good at it. And because the kind of times we are living in where Google has become the extension of our minds, so to say, and for anything or everything we go to Google and we just key in and Google sort of comes up with the answers. So that's the way of life, but that does not mean that we've become good at researching and good at curating, because researching actually, especially in a digital format, follows certain principles. So today's session will be talking about how to use Google and other search platforms effectively. I'll be giving you certain very hands-on and wonderful tips on how to Google search. And then we'll be talking about organizing the content. So whatever you've researched, how do we organize and curate that content on different digital platforms. And then I think this is very, very important that we talk about plagiarism. So before we start off, talking about Google, what I have done is I have curated a list of websites that you can visit and actually find material which you can then go on to use in your classes, for your content. So this is a typical example of curation. So I went on Google, I researched for certain websites, and then I listed those websites here. Now this is how I've listed it on a PowerPoint presentation. This is a typical example of curation. So for example, WorldCat. Now I don't know how many of you heard about WorldCat, but go and visit WorldCat. and you'll be amazed the kind of books and material you'll find on WorldCat. And they're absolutely free, authentic material. So go and have a look. I'm sure you'll find content which you can relate to, and you can use it uh, to push it to your students. Then ResearchGate again. Basically, I don't know, but I think it's very suitable for classes 11th and 12th, especially. And so you'll find a lot of research papers and publications there. I'm sure um, in classes 11th and 12th, I think students should be able to digest and comprehend this kind of material. So, and coming from Scindia school, I'm sure they should be good at it. So, to give them a lot of thinking points, I think you can go to ResearchGate, and all these publications are freely available to you. Then Microsoft Academic, again a database of articles and publications, a fantastic place to go for articles. And so why I've listed these websites is because once you're researching, you have to be sure that where am I getting my material from? Is it authentic? Is it right? Is it correct information that I'm passing on to my students? So the source is going to be very, very important. Then I'm sure you must have been using Google Images, but Binge Images also is it's a Microsoft uh, uh, search engine for images, so you can visit it. No, you see, sometimes you think why images are important. I think images are a very, very important tool, especially when you're teaching online. And especially in a blended format, images absolutely make a very important arsenal of whatever um, you know part of the arsenal which you're sending across to the students. Why? Because one, don't look at images as just plain or simple images that we use. Images actually can tell a complete story, can give context to what you're sending. And for example, you might be able to find infographics. So, the first example which comes to my mind is the weather cycle. So, if you're looking for a weather cycle, I think nothing better than an image. So, on Binge Images, you will find a lot of such material which can be used to make your material engaging. Because remember one thing, the moment you start talking about um, uh, teaching online, remember, and it's true as a principal also, whether it's your class also, the more engaging your material is, the better the students would be motivated. So yesterday only I was having a word with your principal, and he was telling me, okay, that the kind of effort our teachers are putting in, and but then it's sad that only 30 to 40% at times students are attending classes, which is sad. But I think we need to do a little bit of introspection, and we need to look at it, how much of that aspect do we as teachers control? So where are we doing it right? I mean, so you need to ask yourself certain questions. Is the material that I'm sending engaging? Is it too difficult, or is it too easy? Because if it is easy, it's not challenging. And therefore, once you have done some sort of introspection, I think uh, you can motivate the students. And going forward to my third workshop, in which we'll be talking about lesson planning, and I think you will actually understand what motivation is all about, and how do we make our lesson plans more interesting. Then Google Scholar is one, uh, again, a wonderful website to visit. So you will find a lot of academic journals on it. Again, something like the ResearchGate, the previous slide which I was talking about. So here you will find absolutely wonderful journals, studies, statistics, data, you know. So I don't know if you're an ICC school or a CBSE school or a Cambridge school, but then a lot of these publications, a lot of these NCRT books especially, are, they quote studies which are 10 years old or 20 years old, and actually, you know I mean, they don't make sense in 2020. So this is a wonderful place for you to go and search for data and academic journals. Then Google Books, again. So Google Books is where you can find complete books which are freely available, then maybe part of the books which are freely available to you. So again, a wonderful place to go to. Then Google Images. So Google Images, just like Bench, is another search engine for images. So you can, always go to Google as well. Then I don't know how many of you heard about it, but Google has just launched its reading app. So it's called Bolo in India, and it's got some fantastic stories. So somebody who's in the primary section can actually use it. It's free, and you can ask the students to download. And the best part is, once the story is downloaded, uh, you don't need um, an internet connection, and the student can read along also. So it does help with pronunciation and vocabulary also. So a wonderful application. You must go and have a look at it. Then Discovery Education, I mean, fantastic place to go and visit. Seriously, I'm telling you, all the teachers, you must go and have a look as to how they've designed lessons, and and they're very exciting, and they cover a lot of subjects. So please go and have a look at this website. Then, as I said, content is the king. So, the moment we say, oh, my students are not motivated, maybe it is the content. So start off with the content, make it interesting, make it engaging, you know. And actually, videos, they attract a lot of attention. So the engagement is more with the video. So I have listed some wonderful websites here. You can go and visit, for example, pbs.org, then teachertube.com, watchknowlearn.org. I found Watch Know Learn to be fantastic. And especially for project-based learning, you can pick up projects from here. Then, of course, youtube.com/edu is a complete, platform where you will find um, videos related to education only. One I forgot to mention here, that's TED.com. So TED.com is also a wonderful place, um, to visit. And actually, TED has a different vertical, which is just specific to education. So you'll find ready-made lesson plans on TED.com. So you must visit, because you see, the more you sort of start researching at your end, the better you will get, And TED and all, they're very professional in what they do, and so they're very well researched material and ready-made material that you can just pick up and start using for your classes. So please go and have a look at TED.com also. Um, I'm sure quite a few of you must be aware of podcast, but how many of you have thought about using it as one of the resource material? So podcast are like radio stations, you see, and you have an app. For example, I have Castbox. Google has its own app. Apple has its own app. So, and the podcasts are freely, absolutely freely available. But there is so much material which is available on podcasts. I mean, it floors me. So you can have BBC History, BBC English, then you have NPR, the complete channels of NPR, and then Hidden Brain, then TED Talks. So you want to have material which is 5 minutes, okay, 5 minutes. You want to have material which is of an hour's length. So, and whatever age group you might belong to. you know, whatever subjects you're looking for. So BBC has something called Tomorrow's World, which is again a channel. So these are the kind of places you need to visit, you need to deep dive, and you need to and they are absolutely free of cost and wonderfully done and authentic material which you can then share with your students. You can plan your complete classes around podcasts and around videos. And I think this is what basically motivation means. This is what engagement means. So, you know, um, what has happened is, I'm sorry to say, even if now that you've become online teachers or blended teachers, you become online teachers actually, you've not become blended teachers. And in fact, a lot of us are still conventional teachers. So we are not changing our methodologies. And I think that is why the motivation level is so low in the classes also. You need to change the way you're teaching. For example, I mean, of course, the subject and the topic are very important to teach. But but for God's sake, why don't you please just slightly go off the track and maybe give them more higher thinking points and pick up a podcast and sort of just lesson plan around that particular podcast or a video that you pick up from TED.com. Maybe give them an assignment on writing an article or writing an essay based on what they've seen. You see, and so this is actually very, very important that you make your classes engaging. Otherwise, the students are going to lose interest because if the same rut is happening, then I'm sorry, um, there is something wrong, and you are actually not recognizing the power of digital teaching. So go and have a look at podcasts and start using it. So now let's come to the core of it. What exactly, how do we research online? I mean, we all, which restaurant, uh, Chinese restaurant in my area, or, which movie to watch. We do research on Google, but that's not the way exactly, to research. I mean, that's a very surface way of doing things. Actually, researching online has its own tenets. So, for example, we'll be talking about selecting the right search terms, targeting your search, reframing the question, and exploring from different angles, and then narrowing your focus. Now, these are the five basic tenets of researching online. So let's start off selecting the right search terms. Of course, I mean um, that's common sense. If I'm going to search for something, I have to have the right search terms. But then sometimes when we are keying in the research terms, the search terms, we forget the context in what we are researching. And so therefore, Google cannot sort of do the fill in the blanks of what is there in your mind. So you have to be very clear with any search engine, whether it is Google or whether it is Firefox or any other search engine that you're looking at. You will have to use the right search terms. So before you go on to search, you really need to think and apply mind. Okay, this is what I'm looking for, and therefore these are the research terms I should use on Google. So entering Google, I compare it to two things from different perspectives. So if I enter Google like a teacher, it's a huge bloody library that I'm entering in. And that library is a multimedia library. I'm sure you must have, these were the terms which are used 5 years back, multimedia labs in the schools. But when you're entering Google, you're entering a huge, infinite multimedia library. So you've got access to audio, you've got access to videos, you've got access to research papers, to books. But how do you find it? You're going to be lost. So the idea is, before you enter, you should know why you're entering this library. what is exactly and precisely you're looking for. So the right search terms is equal to right search answers, you see. So carefully think before you key in anything on Google. Then second is targeting your search. Now, um, I look at it as an inverted pyramid. So we generally tend to start with more generalized statements, you see, or keywords when we are researching or on Google, and over a period of time we start refining our keywords. So of course you start with broad, but what does broad actually mean? Now, broad, for example, he says you want to find out how do electric cars contribute to efforts to reduce climate change. Now, would you go and search for electric cars, or now would you go and search for climate change? So, broad does not mean कि भाई you're not I mean you need to be broadened doesn't mean that you can pick up a search term which is too broad like climate change or which is too broad like electric cars, because your motive here is to find out whether electric cars reduce climate change or have an effect on climate change or not. So, I mean, that might be a very fantastical way of putting on the example which I've given you, but I think I'm able to convey the idea to you that uh, you need to use your time more efficiently. Your search terms, when you initially start searching for something, doesn't have to be too broad also. But of course, initially it has to be broad. The third thing is reframing your question. I think again, so a lot of common sense goes here. You know, if a child comes to me and I ask him something and he's unable to reply, this is generally what I do. I sort of reframe my question. Maybe I'll get a better answer or an answer I'm looking for. So reframing of the question is very, very important. So look at Google as a child who doesn't have much mind of its own, you know. I mean, it does talk about artificial intelligence and algorithms and all of that, but that's all said and done. It's not a very brainy person, and at the end of the day. So you need to be very specific, and sometimes you need to reframe what you're asking for. So exploring how, he says, might be too broad a question to ask. Instead, to what extent that, and interestingly, every time you change, you sort of tweak your search terms or you reframe your question, you will find that the results are changing. So try experimenting with different ways of framing your research question and see how it alters your research. Then exploring from different angles. Again, the context is very important. The perspective that you want to get to your um, search results, So for example, if I was, when I was researching for uh, this workshop, so I knew I am going to be talking to I'll be talking to the school teachers, and within the school teachers, I'll be talking to maybe the senior school, the middle school, and even the primary section at times. So, and I'm going to get a bunch of teachers who are going to be, from different uh, segments in the school, within the school. So my workshop has to look and sound in a certain manner. So even when so the context and the perspective that we hold, the angle is very, very important. So for the topic on electric cars, for example, he says you could approach this by finding out how an electric car's engine is different from a petrol or diesel engine. Or you could research how many electric cars are being bought and what this means for air quality. So try and researching from different perspectives. Again, so it's um, you might not get it. Nobody gets it right in the first time. Of course, you might find one or two odd results which might be relevant to what you're looking for. But then that requires a lot of sifting, you know. So if you fine tune certain things, certain terms, you start getting better results. So although he says the starting question is the same, the approach is different, and therefore you need to get different perspectives and the context right. The fifth one, as I said, an inverted pyramid. Narrow down your focus. So what is the time period? I mean, I'm looking at, is it 2000? Is it the 20th century? Is it the 21st century? Is it some part of the world I'm looking at? Am I looking at continents or am I looking at islands? What am I looking at, you know? So the more narrow your focus is, the better it is for Google to get back to you with the right answers. So uh, he says, you know, think from three perspectives. For example, narrowing down the topic by time period, comparing two or three specific cases or examples, or exploring a particular region or population group. So again, you know, I don't know, in reading comprehensions, especially when you're teaching SATs or when you're teaching GREs or GMATs. So we talk about, you know, comprehensions being written in a certain specific manner, you know, spatial, hierarchical, you know, chronological in order. So and that's all information we are talking about here. So the same principles can be applied to your search terms here. So are you looking at your search chronologically or spatially or in order of importance? So narrow your focus when you're researching. I've Let me tell you one thing, I wasn't very good at it, but since the lockdown I started researching more for my workshops, so things are you know, becoming clearer, and Google undoubtedly is a wonderful tool. So this is a video that I've curated for you, and just it's a University of Leeds video on researching. So just I think there is something wrong with the video. Um, you know, let's not waste time. Let's keep moving. So if I can fix it, I'll get back to you, please. Or in any case, I'm going to send you the link. Please bear with me. It doesn't generally happen. Okay. So now this is very, very interesting. So I know you've all been researching on Google, and you know, you go back to Google for every Tom, Dick, and Harry question that comes to your mind, and you know, and Google does serve you well. But then it has got, have you, I don't know how many of you have actually used deep dive into the Google tabs. So of course there is one for images, there is one for news, there is one for shopping, maps, there are settings, and there are tools, and then there is all also. So go try and use these tabs, you see. Even the tool tab, which is on the far right, uh, you will find that underneath it you have different tools. Just explore it. I think it's all about, at the end of the day, exploring. So whatever content I've made for you, it's actually you know, it's all whatever I've explored. uh, so no harm done. Whenever you go to Google next time, and I'm sure, you know, you must be going to it uh, for multiple times in your day. So try and use these tabs. These tabs are actually meant to help you or to refine your search terms. Then Google modifiers. Now this is very interesting. So, for example, you're looking for best apps, but you don't want to look for best apps for Android. You just want to look at best apps, but you don't want anything related to Android. So what you do is you key in best apps, you put a dash or a minus sign, whatever, and then you type in Android. So the search results that you get will not include any search related to Android. So they will omit any search results related to Android. Then if you're looking for exact phrase, exactly the same words in the same order, then you need to put them in inverted commas. The future of, in the quotations, you see, the future of education. So whatever, so Google will throw results, will show you websites which has, which have these exact same words in this exact same order. So these are known as Google search modifiers. Then file types. Now, as teachers, it is important. Of course, I mean, you search for websites, you pick up content from website, you copy and paste that content maybe, but then we can straight away look for PDF files or doc files or PowerPoint presentation files. You see, it makes our life easier if you can get more precise material that we are looking for. So you can actually search for exact file type what you're looking for. So for example, if you're looking for climate change, related to climate change, and you want a PDF file on that, so you can type in climate change, file type, colon, PDF. And if you're looking for a doc file, then it's a colon doc. But yes, of course, you have to mention the keyword climate change. You have to mention the word file type and then colon and then doc. So even if you're looking for videos, even if you're looking for MP3s or MP4s or MOVs, this is the way to go. So it actually makes your life much better, and it takes less time. Then search Google for related websites. Now this is interesting, and it can be, I mean, for a teacher, it's a wonderful tool. So for example, if I'm looking for, let's say, I don't know how many of you have heard about Aeon, AEON. So that's a wonderful website where a lot of these professors from different fields, from psychology, from science, physics, chemistry, they've got some wonderful articles posted there, and even videos. But then I'm sure there must be hundreds of websites which are like Aeon, not limited to Aeon. So I can say, so if I want to look for a website which is just similar to Aeon, I can say related, I can put a colon, and I can mention AEON, Aeon. And all the websites which are just exactly like Aeon will open up in the search results. Now, okay, let me give you a more simpler example. For example, if I can say related colon YouTube, so all those websites which have videos in them, or basically who sort of push video content, suddenly they will open up. So that helps me narrow down my research. So whatever I've been talking about, in these 3-4 slides, this is what I'm saying. You need to, whatever modifiers I've talked about, this actually helps you to narrow down your research. And that is what we need. We need to save time, we need to save energy, and we need to save ourselves from getting lost on Google. So this is a wonderful way to do that. And I hope you use these tools. Then Google search with placeholders. Now, for teachers, I can say, okay, so I'll give you the example of an English teacher. So if supposing an English teacher is looking for for a poem, for a piece of poetry. And the teacher remembers certain words but forgets certain words in between. So what do? So you put an asterisk in the place of the words which you've forgotten. So just type in as much of the phrase as you can remember, but place an asterisk with the space on either side. So leave a space on either side of asterisk, and Google will be able to do the rest. You see, it'll do the fill in the blanks for you. So there's a very, very interesting way of researching on Google, where you know, you're basically maybe looking for a song, maybe. So this is the way to go. Then that's again a wonderful tool which the teachers can use to narrow down their search. You know, I mean, I can give you the example of history teachers. Maybe you want to define certain timelines. You know, maybe you're looking for an article which was published in a you know, in a certain time period. You only remember the time period. You remember some words of the articles or the headline of that article or that heading of that article. You can actually go to Google and you can tell it, you can narrow down your search to hours, to weeks, to months. And you can even set a custom date range on Google. I don't know how many of you knew about this tool, but it's all your imagination and it's all your need, you know, uh, how you can use the different tools which Google has made available to you, absolutely free of cost, just to help you narrow down your research. So this is a fantastic way of narrowing your research related to time. You know, then again, image. So you know, the moment you go to Google and you click on the image, if you remember, on the Google tab. So Google is going to throw left and right, it's going to start throwing images at you. But maybe you're looking for a size of the image which is large. You know, you have to use it in a presentation. It has to be of a certain size. You can actually ask Google to look for only images which are large. Now, if you want images which have red color in it, you can actually ask Google to search for images which have red in it. You are looking only for clip arts, you can tell Google that you're only looking for clip arts. You're looking for images from a certain geographic area, you can ask Google to do that for you. So again, you know, these are the tools which are readily available to you. The only thing is that you need to get a level of awareness, you know, when you're researching on Google. Now, that's again something very interesting, and I found it to be quite useful. So generally, you know, when I'm looking for articles, so usually the articles you will find are on websites which are very content heavy. And you know, and any content heavy website, it's easy to get lost in it. So maybe I read an article in New York Times way back 2 years back. And I'm sure it was in New York Times, but I don't know where the hell is it now, or whether I'll be able to find it or not, you know. So what I can do is I can actually search within a website. So I can, for example, I've given an example here. So I'm looking for Sydney Cross Bay. I can put site after that, colon after that, and I can name the website. So for example, if I'm looking for an article which was written on 21st century skills. So I can write 21st century skills. I can key in the word site, colon, newyorktimes.com. And so Google is not going to start searching for all the other websites now. So Google now is going to deep dive into New York Times and actually pick up the article which specifically talks about 21st century skills, or the articles which talk about 21st century skills. So again, a wonderful tool when you have to deep dive into a specific website It's a great, fantastic tool, And then just imagine, now you have a tool to set time period. So if you're looking for an article within New York Times published in a certain year, you can actually narrow down your search result by website, by time periods. So try to use combination of tools also. Then, of course, you can do basic maths on Google. I don't know how many of you were aware, but yes, it's very much possible. Right from the dashboard itself, you can perform basic maths on Google. Now, this is a tool which even your students can use, which you can use. For example, if you're checking their assignments or if you're doing anything, this is a wonderful tool that you can use, you see. Then money and unit conversions. Again, it can be done right from the on the Google dashboard itself. So you don't have to go to a specific website to convert money or do any of the unit conversions. You can do it directly from the dashboard itself. I would request everybody to mute themselves, please. So again, a wonderful tool. So these are certain tools that we discussed, you see, which can be used on Google. I talked about the Google tabs, all these tabs, all images, news, shopping, maps, more, setting, tools. Now these are, this you will find right in front of you the moment you open up Google. Then we talked about Google search modifiers, the dash sign, and the inverted commas, the future of education, as I mentioned here. So you can look for exact words. This again is a wonderful tool for searching for specific file types, whether it's a video file you're looking for, whether it's an audio file you're looking for, or a PDF or a doc file or a PowerPoint presentation. You can use this tool. Again, looking for similar kind of websites, this is a fantastic tool which you can use. Then Google search with placeholders. If you're looking for a piece of poetry, or maybe a quotation by someone, or a speech by someone, you remember some words, but you've forgotten some words, you can use the asterisk sign. Then set result time restraints, again a wonderful tool if you have to narrow down your research by hours or by weeks or months, or you need to set a custom date range, that also can be done. Then search, so this is again a fantastic tool which can get you the kind of images that you're looking for. Colon is again for researching specific sites. If you want to deep down within a website, this is a fantastic tool. You can use Google to do maths. You can use Google to do conversions. So now I'm going to ask you some questions, and I expect you to reply in the chat box. So this is my first question to you. A good way to improve your search results would be to read around the topic first, experiment with the framing of your research question, keep your search term phrase broad. What is the answer? So A is completely wrong. So we are left with B and C. I think Mr. Ritendra is being smart. He says B and C both. In a way, yes. I won't sort of, because both are quite similar. But experiment with the framing of your research question. Yes. with the keywords, of course, and then keep your search term phrase broad. No, that's a wrong answer. The broader the search term it is, the more expansive search results you get. So therefore, C is out and you're left with B. You need to experiment with your search terms. You need to narrow them down. That's the basic philosophy on researching on an online platform. So I would request, that's so whenever you're researching, you need to narrow down your research and you need to keep reframing. So it's not for the broad terms that we are researching for. So question 2, Google tabs help you to define what kind of search you need to do, widen your search, limit your search to just images. A, B, or C? A it is. Not widen your search. Why would we want our search to be widened? So we would like to narrow it down as much as possible. Please keep yourself muted. So we would like to narrow down our search, and that's the idea here. So Google tabs help us to define the kind of research we want to do, or search we want to do on Google. Then question 3, adding quotations to a search term tells Google to search for related keywords in your search term, search for that specific search term, search for that specific search term using that set of words in the exact order. A, B, or C? Yes, the answer is C. So you're basically in that exact order, and that exact search term. So this is what the quotations do. Then if you want to find a specific file type, for example, a PDF file related to online teaching, so you search for online teaching :PDF, online teaching :PDF, PDF, PDF for online teaching. What do you search for? Yes, it's B. So B is the correct answer here. Then question number 5. Search for articles or content on a specific website. So the asterisk before the required website, a semicolon, or a colon before the required website. So remember the question, search for articles or content on a specific website. Yes, C is the answer. Now, we've all talked about researching. I think the second and the major step is curation. So, what is digital curation? I'm sure you all must be aware of the word curate. There are a lot of curators you'll find in the museums. So, what exactly is digital curation? So, curation. Now, you might be a physics teacher, but within physics, you might be looking for different articles. You see, maybe you're looking for something related to time machine, or maybe you're looking for quantum physics. You see, or you're looking for the chaos theory. So what do you do? And because all of this material which you've been researching has to be grouped, has to be given the context, has to be preserved, maintained, archived, and then shared. Because you see, all of this content which you are curating or which you've researched and now you want to curate, it has to be put in a logical and a meaningful manner. And research, after researching, curating your content is getting efficiency to what you're doing, because then this content now flows out to the students. So for example, you might be teaching physics to class 11th and 12th students, but then you might be teaching physics to class 8 students also. You might be researching for the same topic for both of them, but then there is an age difference. So you need to group it properly. You need to give it the right context. And therefore, you need digital tools where you can go and then park whatever research you've done, those those links to those videos, the link to those articles, or the PDF files that you've curated. Where do you put it? So again, if you're going to create a mess out of it and you start putting it in one file, one place, again you're going to research through the, so whatever you, so you're going to do research within research. So you need to start grouping it according to the context and in a more meaningful manner that you need to put them together. So today, this is what I'm going to be talking about. How do we curate digitally? So the basics of content curation. So what is content curation? Now, I'm sure you must be reading articles after articles on what to watch on Netflix, you know, or what to watch on Prime Video, you know, and so related to crime, or you want to watch sci-fi, or you want to watch a family drama, you know, and you will find articles after articles based on that, you know. So these are all, they're all curators. They're not making content, mind you. They just curated content and sort of put it in a logical manner and given it to you. So if you're looking for crime thrillers, you have a complete article, and then, you know, by the ratings of the people, by whatever, and they started curating content. And mind you, content curators earn millions. They are absolutely fantastic on research and curate skills. So they pull content from different places, they organize it in a certain way, and they give context to it, and then they push it in the form of articles, and you are the audience who digests it. So can you imagine how much Netflix must be paying to such people? Or for example, a Vogue magazine paying to certain people who are curating this sort of content so that their audience can sort of just lap it up. So curate content, content curators are the king. You know, as I said, content is the king. If your articles, if your blogs, if your classes are not engaging, you lost it. So if you cannot communicate well with your students, what do you do? I'm sorry. I think I'll have to switch on the light. Can you give me a second? Give me a second, please. So content curation is an art. Researching is an art. It's a skill which can be acquired, which can be learned. You know, there are certain kind of blogs which get a lot of audience. So if you see a lot of content which is, I mean, Facebook posts which get so many likes, you see. So this is all content curation at the end of the day. So content curation, we mean when you read, when you come across something very interesting or which is related to what you're doing, then you sort of put it in a context, give context to it. And the third step is when you start sharing that content with your audience. So whosoever your audience might be. I think this is one workshop which is for across people. You know, this is one skill which we as humans need to have today in the age we are living, you know, in the times we are living. And so um, moving ahead, so you know, the moment we enter Google, I mean, there's a multiplicity of videos, websites, blogs, research papers, news media, tweets, and whether or not they're relevant to us, you know. So this is what researching and curating is, you see. When you are looking for the right thing, you reach the right place, and then you pull it out and you put it in a certain, you park it somewhere so that it can be consumed then by your audience. That exactly is what curation is all about. So the digital curator is someone who can navigate the complexity of this information, find what is relevant, can identify patterns, groups, and can contextualize information to create a new meaning, and who shares this with a wider audience. So it's a very, I mean, it's not um, a definition which is specific to teachers, but this is exactly what you're going to be doing. You know, you're finding relevant content, you're parking it somewhere, you're grouping it, you're giving it context, and then you're pushing it to the students. So your context is the subject you're teaching. Your context is being age specific. And then who's your audience? Your students. This is one of the most fantastic tool that I use for curation. And this is where most of my readings happen, you know, on a daily basis. And I've been using this tool, I don't know, for dog many years now. So it's an app, absolutely free. I can download it, and then I can give it topics, and then it starts curating content itself. So for example, I'm interested in science. So I'll tell it science, okay. And then I may be interested in photography, so I give it photography. Then I say future ed or education technology, okay. So I keep giving it topics, and what it does is it sort of pulls whatever is relevant to that topic, and it stores the magazine, it stores the content around that topic. So, and Flipboard calls it magazines. So you create magazines on different topics, and the Flipboard app sort of, you know, pulls the content from online and, you know, parks it there under those topics. So I'll give you a small example. For example, on your Gmail now, you can label it, you know, you can label, you can create labels for Gmail, you know. So your school key emails, and this is from students. Okay, these are the assignments which I've given. So you can keep labeling. So what you've done is, what you've done is in Flipboard is that you've given it topics or labels, and then it starts pulling content from online and starts parking it there. And there's a flip side to Flipboard. What you can do is you can create your own magazine. Then whatever interesting. So, for example, I have a magazine on Flipboard called the Virtual Teacher. So, whatever content which I find which is relevant to it, I keep posting the content, or I keep curating the content within that magazine. And then a lot of teachers follow me, they flip through the pages, they can use that article or whatever, you know, I've posted there. So that's a fantastic way of curating content. You know, it makes my life easy, and I can create n number of magazines. So for example, I want to say physics class 8th, and or maybe I want to say quantum mechanics class 11th and 12th. I can create a magazine by that name, and whatever interesting I come across, or whatever I come across on the net, I can just pull up that content and put it there, park it there, and then I can, you know, share it with my students. So again, a wonderful way of curating content. Then Wickle It is also in a way free, and it allows you to save, organize, and tell stories with content from around the web. So you can save articles, you can save videos, you can save podcast, images, anything which has a URL or which is available on the net can be stored here. And then you can, and the best part is that you can, what you can do is that you can actually create stories around it. So you can add your own text to it, you can add your own images to it, and actually Wikilet is one platform which is being used by teachers fantastically all over the world. You must have a look at it, and you must explore this. Then Scoopit is very similar to Flipboard. Again, something of that sort. You give it topics, it starts curating the content for you. So it's free, but it has got some paid options also. But free, I think, is reasonably good. Evernote. I don't know how many of you are using Evernote, but Evernote is a very important part of my life. One, because it can be synced across my laptop, my iPhone, or my Android phone. It's available to me 24 into 7. So whatever I've stored, maybe I've curated something on my laptop, but I can then go and see it on uh, my phone also. So it helps you remember and act upon ideas, projects, and experiences across all the computers, phones, and tablets. So it's slightly unlike, not slightly, I would say the complete nature of Evernote is very different from a tool like Flipboard. Because here you can create notes, you can create projects, you can ask people to work on the same project in real time, make changes to your notes. It is a wonderful tool which you can be used with your students also. I mean, it's a fantastic tool to be working together with students on assignments and on other things. Have a look at it. You'll have to explore it. And let me tell you one thing, the free version does most of the job. I haven't opted for paid options, and I can do almost anything on the free uh, version as well. So have a look at Evernote, please. And then again, how you use a tool depends on your imagination, creativity. So that's one thing you need to remember all the time. Then Pinterest. I think all of you have heard about it, but you usually go um, to create, to look at pics, you see. So, but then it's a great place where you can create your own projects, curation projects, and use it as a tool. For example, your art teachers or even the history teachers can actually use it as a tool to create projects around on Pinterest, you see. Again, a wonderful tool, depends on your imagination and how you would like to use it as a teacher. E-learning tags, a wonderful place, specially meant for teachers. And there you will find that there are a number of topics related to, social learning, MOOCs, e-learning, etc. And everything has been curated at one place. And it's basically meant for teachers only, especially related to educational technology. Have a look at it, go and research all of these tags which I'm sending you. Here, Flipboard you can start using right now. You can just download Flipboard, the app. You can look for Madhukar Dhiman and then search for the Virtual Teacher magazine. You can start following it, and you can start creating your own magazine also. And it's very simple to use Flipboard. A lot of my reading actually is done on Flipboard. A lot of my workshops have come through Flipboard only from the articles which I've curated on Flipboard. And when teachers come back to me with different questions, they would like to know something, I usually tell them, go on to the Virtual Teacher magazine. I have uploaded something there. go and have a look. So you will find material related to primary schools, to senior schools, on using Zoom or on using Google Classroom. So there's a lot of material which I've curated there, and you can, I mean, as teachers, you can start off with your own magazine also, and you can ask your students to follow that magazine. So wonderful tool. Now, before we end this session, I think it is important that now that we've started talking about research and content and pulling content from all over the place, it's very important that we understand what plagiarism is all about. I think this was one of the questions which I received last time also. You know, uh, when somebody was talking about that students are copying and pasting a lot of content. So, what is plagiarism? So, plagiarism is very simple. Somebody has written an article and you push it to someone else saying that you've written it. That's, in very basic terms, what plagiarism is. And you're considered a thief. So, this is what plagiarism is, that when you steal and you pass on someone's ideas or someone's words as your own, that's what plagiarism is. So, turning in someone else's work as your own, plagiarism. Copying words or ideas from someone else without giving credit, plagiarism. Failing to put a quotation in quotation marks, plagiarism. Giving incorrect information about the source of a quotation, plagiarism. No, this wasn't said by Modi. This was said by Rahul Gandhi. Plagiarism. Changing words but copying the sentence structure of a source without giving credit, plagiarism. Copying so many words or ideas from a source that it makes up the majority of your work, whether you give it credit or not, it is plagiarism. So, in India, a lot of people you'll find from some Tom, Dick, and Harry university getting a PhD, copied someone else's work, put up there, got it stamped, plagiarism. So, this is what plagiarism is. And because we are all digital citizens now, we need to be more careful about how we are curating content, how we are pushing content to people. So, for example, if you go to my previous website, I mentioned where I copied it from. So, and I gave you the link also here, right? The reason behind it is because I want to avoid plagiarism. So, the first thing that you need to do is please cite the source. I think that's the basic thing, and that's the only thing you need to do. So if you've copied something from somewhere, you know, just mention the source. That's it, nothing else. I hope you liked the session, you enjoyed the session. I'm ready to take certain questions. I would be happy to answer your questions. Please come up with your questions if you have any. So, Mr. Kamth, any questions, please? Last time there were a lot of questions. I'm sure you must be having some questions now also. I've been very excited about taking this workshop with you because questions actually excite me, and they sort of, say that I've done a good job. Please explain again targeting your search. So I think by targeting a search, I think the basic philosophy is um, um, the narrower your search terms are, that's what a targeted search is all about. So someone says this time there's a lot of content plus you've taken a quiz. Okay. So, but please tell us more about Scoop It. I think there is no, it's very difficult to explain a platform in its entirety. Please go on, start using Flipboard, start using Scoop It, and I'm sure over a period of time you'll find that you've sort of inclined to a certain kind of platform with which you're comfortable. For example, I'm very comfortable using Flipboard, or I'm very comfortable using Evernote. So you would incline towards a certain platform, which you find easy. So just start exploring platforms. Don't be worried about, what it does, what it doesn't, because whatever I say will actually not do justice to the platform. Any questions for presentation? PPT is good. I mean, I would stick to PPT, especially, if you have the paid version of Microsoft, it works, it functions very well. And I mean, I'm very comfortable using Microsoft. That is what I would say. I can add voice to it. I can change my presentation into videos. I think that's, there's so much you can do with the paid version of Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. So I'm good with Microsoft. Any questions? Any other questions? I hope um, there were certain very positive takeaways from from the workshop. And in the next workshop, we'll be talking about um, the the art of designing a digital lesson plan. And you see, because lesson planning is very important if you're going to move from a conventional teacher to a blended teacher, because certain principles absolutely change. And especially when you're teaching on a digital platform, or when you're designing a lesson plan for a digital classroom, then uh, you know there is an otherness to it. And I will be talking about Bloom's taxonomy also, and I'll be talking about differentiation. I'll be talking about learning objectives in my third workshop on lesson planning. So I'm sure it is as exciting as this one, and there will be a lot of takeaways. We have created a group called the Virtual Teacher on Facebook as well. So whatever I paste, sort of copy and paste on my Flipboard magazine, I do it on the group as well. And a lot of teachers sort of come and contribute whatever resources they come across. So I mean, it's open to everybody. You can search for the Virtual Teacher group and start following it. And, so I post a lot of content on it. You can do that.
Sir, I have just one question, please.
Yeah, please.
Sometimes, like in the classroom, we need to search something, and when we try to type something, no matter how narrow you make your search, but we got some suggestions with the inappropriate words in the classroom. So, do we have any method to avoid? For example, I'll just type "how to," and if you'll try and Google just "how to," you'll find out things like which are not appropriate for the classroom.
Um, I'm, I, I'm sure you must have been listening to I think how to is a very, very broad search term. And so you've got to be ready with the results is going to sort of pop up. So you need to narrow down what you're researching for. So how to make an ice cream? That would do. I mean, you need to narrow down how to. How to doesn't stand. I mean, it's too broad a search term, and therefore, yes. And I mean, thank God you came up with this. So you've got to be sure that the kind of search terms that you're using. So Google can be a very, very dangerous place also, especially when I was talking about the content has to be age sensitive, or it has to be relevant to what you're saying. So this is why you need to narrow down your research
Yeah, actually,
and
that's
give
what
can ah hmm. Yeah,
that's what I
please.
wanted to कि I just want to write the complete sentence, but just like I type how to, it completes automatically. Like it shows suggestion how to, so many suggestions. That is not
Ah,
age appropriate.
so okay, so you okay. Now I know what you're trying to suggest. You're trying to
Yeah,
suggest the moment I type how to on the Google tab, then it
yeah,
starts giving suggestions. I
correct.
think you can tweak this in the settings. Okay, so you go to Chrome, you go to the settings,
Yeah.
and you tell Google not to do it. So it will stop giving you suggestions.
All right, all right, all right. That we have in settings, Chrome
Yeah,
setting.
yeah.
Okay,
So some are default settings. So if you,
right,
for example, if you install Chrome, so it's going to function in a certain way automatically, right?
correct.
Go into the, I think, I'm sure, I think I've seen it also, I've come across it also. So you can go to the settings of Chrome and then you can sort of, untick it or tick it off, whatever. But
Okay,
then there
because
is, yes, so go to the settings. Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I got it
it's okay because I
now.
found it very dangerous.
Oh, it
Sometimes
can be,
kids used to, just type in the smartphone or
yes,
laptop
yeah,
and
it
they
can be,
find inappropriate content.
yes, it can be very, very embarrassing at times. Agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any
There
other?
are two other questions, sir. One is like Discovery Education. Are there any other sites for higher classes? And someone suggestions for Sanskrit and languages, other languages.
Hmm. Hmm. Uh, hmm. So, I haven't curated anything as such, but I'm sure I have given you the right tools now that you can go and research for the website. So, I think that's a very interesting question. You put any website like Discovery Education. So, you can do that. If you remember, can I go back? Let me go back once, please. Uh, where is that? Where is that? Is it on? Okay. Yes, this one. So, what you can do is education, mention site, colon, discoveryeducation.com, and you will find websites like discoveryeducation.com. So, this is again a fantastic tool where you can research for some other website which is very similar to a certain kind of a website. So, this is one of the tools that you can use. And yes, Sanskrit and languages, we basically, we as an institute, we are also very well known for teaching languages, and so a lot of international students come and study with us and stay with us. um, you know uh, they come and study Hindi and Sanskrit with us. So there are a lot of websites which are there, but yes, you will have to research. There is wonderful content available on Sanskrit as well as Hindi, French, you name the language, there's a lot of content available. So please research. I've given you the tools, and that is what you are. You see, I am conducting a workshop here and I'm giving you the tools, and you need to go out now and you need to research for what specifically you're looking for. I'm trying to make your life easier, and this is what research and what curation is all about. Any other question?
No, sir, nothing
Okay.
else.
I hope you all enjoyed the workshop. And so I was talking to the principal yesterday, and I would love that if you can, you know, um, sort of push these, sort of fast forward the complete process. But then it all depends on you and how you would like to take these workshops. So I'm okay if every Sunday I have to come here. Um, uh, do send us the feedback form. That's going to be very important for us because that is how we tweak our workshops. And my third workshop is going to be very, very important. We're going to be talking about lesson planning. And let me tell you one thing, the tools I'm giving you are the tools which you require now if you want to stay relevant. And please do not Stop upskilling yourself. Go on to Coursera, go on to edX, go on to Linda. There are wonderful courses which are available, not very expensive, very authentic courses. Start doing those courses, start upgrading yourself, because what I fear the most is once we get out of this lockdown, will you have the right skills or not? So this is important, that if you want to stay relevant, if you want to be in the same profession, if you want to sort of up yourself in life, please keep upskilling yourself. Look forward to a third workshop. I really enjoy being with you. Thank you so much for listening to me, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, sir.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.